Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Tennessee's early exits in the NCAA tournament. Well, it struck again in Indianapolis. Heartbreaking indeed. Tennessee falls to Michigan. Let's get it out of the way. Let's talk about it. This is your postgame pod.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into your post-game edition of Locked On Vols. I already know this likely won't be the big hitter in terms of the numbers for the episodes, but for those of you guys that have been looking forward to the post-game pods, I said I would do it win or lose, and unfortunately, Tennessee is a loser from Indianapolis. The final score, the 11th-seeded Wolverines of Michigan, 76. The 3-seeded Volunteers from Tennessee, 68. We're going to get into all of what this basketball game was. It'll be a shorter podcast. We'll come back on a Monday show and dive into even more, get some other thoughts from people who were there. But ultimately, this was a heavyweight bout. I mean, it was, man. I mean, it felt like two heavyweights going at it, and nobody wanted to call, right? I mean, you're sitting there watching the game, and you're like out of breath, right? It's like, goodness gracious, we all slow down. It was a fast-paced game. It was a physical basketball game. Tennessee falls 76-68 on a night where, again, it just couldn't buy a three-pointer. And it wasn't like Tennessee was just jacking them up. Tennessee wasn't doing that. It finished the day 2 of 18 from behind the arc. But it had one three-point shot attempt 12 minutes in. 12 minutes into the ballgame, Tennessee was 0 for 1 from 3. I mean, it's not like Tennessee was just settling, shooting from behind the arc. Maybe a little bit in the second half, but that was not the game plan. But the biggest story of the day, Tennessee atrocious from behind the arc, 2 of 18. That is an 11% clip. Tennessee, one of the worst two-point shooting basketball teams in the tournament, was on fire. Mid-range after mid-range after mid-range in the first half, keeping Tennessee alive, erasing an early 8-point deficit, leading by 6 at one point in that first half, and holding a halftime lead of 37-32 at 5 points. Tennessee's mid-range was on point in the first half. Tennessee's mid-range was, pretty much there the entire game. But Tennessee finished the day shooting 42% from the field, 28 of 67. Tennessee assisted on 15 of the 28 made baskets. Again, we've seen a shorter correlation there in terms of assists to made baskets in the last couple of games. That's not the case here tonight, as Tennessee only assists on 15 of the 28 made baskets. Again, Tennessee, 2 of 18 from three-point range. Credit where credit's due. Tennessee started 10 of 10 from the charity stripe, finished 10 of 12 from the free throw line. That didn't cost them the basketball game tonight, shooting free throws. They were fantastic. It was a three-point shooting from the Volunteers that cost them. 76-68. Where do we want to begin? Dickinson, incredible. Also, he got every single call imaginable in this basketball game. He finished with 27 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. He and Uros Plavsic were going at it in the blocks, just going at it. And Uros looked like Uros most of the time, I'm not going to lie. But, hell, Uros, he played his ass off tonight. 9 points, 9 rebounds. Wasn't great. I mean, he gave up a ton of points. Don't get me wrong. Don't hear me wrong here. Uros gave up a crap ton of points, but he played his rear end off. He did. 9 points, 9 rebounds, going toe-to-toe with Dickinson and trying to slow him down. John Fulkerson battled. He was aggressive. He was not fantastic. Finished with 6 points, 2 rebounds, a couple of assists, but he was aggressive in trying to change the game from down low. Brandon Huntley, Halfon, and Jonas Adu didn't play a huge role in this game, but very much aggressive. A combined 8 points, a combined 4 rebounds. Hitting a couple of key shots, especially early on in the basketball game, and then to start the second half when Tennessee needed something. But the story of the day, Tennessee, horrendous from 3. And also, it was the worst game ever, most likely, for Santiago Vescovi in a Volunteer uniform. He finished with 5 points, 2 of 7 shooting, 1 of 5 from three-point range. He had 4 rebounds. He had 2 assists. He had 3 fouls. Santiago couldn't buy a bucket. Just couldn't buy it, man. And his timing was off. He was out of rhythm. He forced a couple of shots. Michigan did a fantastic job taking Santiago Vescovi out of this basketball game. And, that's for pretty much the majority of the game, Tennessee was right there, if not had a couple point lead when its highest score, when its leading scorer couldn't buy a bucket, wasn't even in the basketball game. Kennedy Chandler took off. Kennedy Chandler is a great basketball player. And seeing Kennedy Chandler just burst into tears there on the court, man, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, that kid, again, I keep saying kid, he's 18 years old. He is a true freshman, likely not coming back to school here next year, likely going into the NBA draft, likely going to be a first-round draft selection. He is an incredible basketball player. His vision, top-notch. His speed to the rack, top-notch. His shooting ability, top-notch. Free throw shooting ability, not great. Not great. He didn't attempt one today, but anyway, that's one knock on him. But we've seen him grow up before our very eyes, and he was once again on its day when Tennessee needed something, stopping a run from Michigan, getting some breathing room for a 4 or 6 point lead. Kennedy Chandler, he was there. And obviously Josiah Jordan-James, just without Josiah Jordan-James the last couple of games, Tennessee would have gotten in a big, big hole. And Tennessee did get in a big hole to begin this game. It was 8-2 Michigan right out of the gates. But because of Josiah, he had, 10 first half points? Yeah, he had 10 first half points, 4 rebounds and assists, finished with 13 points, 5 of 13 shooting, 0 of 6 from long range. We'll get to that in a moment. 6 rebounds, 3 assists, a stat sheet stuffer. Where would this team be without Josiah Jordan-James? But ultimately, Tennessee 2 of 18. Ultimately, Tennessee, Vescovi and James combined, 1 of 11 from 3-point land. 2 of your better 3-point shooters. You want to add Chandler in that mix? Let's go 2 of 14 from long range. 2 of 14 from long range. Tennessee lost its basketball game because it was abysmal from 3-point land, and Santiago Vescovi just couldn't buy a bucket. Dickinson, 27 points. Got every call possibly imaginable. He is a great player. He is a load, and he can stretch the floor. He took a ton of shots. Took 5 3-pointers, made 3 of them. He can stretch the floor. Really, really good player. Finished with 27 and 11. 4 assists. Really good player. Man. Diabate, I forgot how to say his name. I heard him say it the entire broadcast. He was really good tonight, too. Finished with 13 and 6. Eli Brooks, 23 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. He had a monster second half. Okay? It's upsetting. It is upsetting. We'll talk more about this. We'll go and look at some of the trends. We'll go look at the final numbers. And we'll ask a hard question at the end of this podcast, okay? It's already going a little bit longer than I thought it would, but anyway, it's going to be a shorter post-game pod. The final score, the 11 seed upsets the 3 seed. Michigan takes down Tennessee 76-68. A very telling stat when we return here, but hang on, we got more for this post-game podcast. It is BetOnline, March Madness, March Sadness, am I right? That time of the year, again, college basketball reigns supreme. There was a 1 seed that already got knocked off before Tennessee went and played. So now there's a 1 seed and a 3 seed that got knocked off on Saturday's slate. Too bad it was your favorite team, right? But nonetheless, all the upsets, all the lines, all the props, everything and more here this March Madness season. That is at betonline.net. From all the latest odds, contests, player props, betonline.net, your number one source for all your sports betting needs and information. BetOnline remains your best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news as well. Not just basketball as well. We're talking basketball here, but it's your continued source for your sporting wagering informational needs, including live betting options, as well as your favorite Las Vegas casino games. Head on over to the website right now or use your mobile device. Learn about the latest trends and all the action. BetOnline.net. BetOnline. It is where the game starts. Welcome back in here to this Locked On Vols post-game edition, 76-68. Here we are again. Early exits in the NCAA tournament. I'm not going to ask the question of, was this a successful or a failure season? Not tonight. That'll come later in the week, and we can have a discussion about it. But I want to read out this stat for you, okay? A very, very telling stat. 2 stats, actually, okay? In the last 4 NCAA tournament appearances for the University of Tennessee, Tennessee has been a 5 seed or better. Its record is 4-4 with 1 Sweet 16 appearance. All 4 losses have come to lower seeded teams. One more time. Tennessee has been a 5 seed or better in the last 4 NCAA tournaments. Its record is 4-4 with 1 Sweet 16 appearance. All 4 losses coming from lower seeded teams. One more. This is going to hurt. Brace yourself. But you know me, I'm going to shoot you straight here. The number of 15th seeded seeds, how do you say that? The number of 15 seeds to defeat 2 seeds in the history of the NCAA tournament. 15s over 2. We saw one on Thursday when Kentucky went down to St. Peter's. How many times does that happen? A 15th seed has taken down a 2 seed a total of 10 times in the NCAA tournament. Tennessee has reached the Sweet 16 only 8 times in program history. So a 15th seed has beaten a 2 seed 2 more times than Tennessee has ever made it to the Sweet 16 as a program. It's not great, Bob. That is not great. Not great. Tennessee 42% from the game, from the field in the game, 28-67. A really good 2-point shooting team tonight, but obviously 2 of 18 from long range, 11%. Tennessee made 10 of 12 from the charity stripe, 83%. Michigan shot 50% from the field, 27-54. Made 38% of the threes, 6 of 16. Made 16 of 20 free throws. Michigan turned it over 15 times. A crap ton of turnovers in the first half kept Tennessee in this one. Tennessee scored 20 points off those 15 turnovers from Michigan. Tennessee lost the rebounding battle 36-33. Tennessee won the battle of points in transition 19-5. 19-5. Tennessee outscored Michigan in transition. This game was tied 6 times. It had 12 lead changes. The game was tied for 251. Michigan led this basketball game for 20 minutes and 28 seconds. Tennessee led this basketball game for 16 minutes and 37 seconds. It was a slugfest. It was a dogfight. And Tennessee just couldn't find a way. I mean, it was a fast-moving game in that first half. The pace was unreal. Run. You thought the bigs were going to eat. You thought Michigan's bigs were going to eat, and Dickinson did eat. Hey, 27-11. But he was stretching the floor. He was taking long jumpers. He was shooting threes. And then he was, picking Uros's pocket down low. But again, like I said in segment 1, Uros, I thought, all things considered, played a pretty decent game. The luckiest shot I have ever seen in my life. The luckiest shot. I believe it was Eli Brooks. It gave Michigan a 4-point lead when Tennessee cut it within 2, less than about a minute 15. The shot clock was going down. He was driving the right side of the lane. Little hook shot, let me just throw it up there, see what happens. Banks in. I mean, again, it was just that night for Tennessee. Your leading scorer couldn't find water if he fell out of a boat. Tennessee, which has been a really good 3-point shooting team here of late, went 2 of 18. And again, this is a team that wasn't just shooting up threes. No, it took 1 3-pointer in the first 12 minutes of the game. It was just one of those games. Your stretch big man Dickinson was 3 of 5 from long range. It was just one of those games. And unfortunately, it put Tennessee's season to an end. Final score 76-68. So let's think about it, guys. We're not going to answer it tonight, but was this season a success or was it a failure? We're emotional tonight. We're not going to answer it tonight. But we can have that conversation. And I will, when we have that conversation, I will present arguments for both sides of the coin because I think it's fair. I'll close with this. At the end of the day, your head coach takes full responsibility. I'm not in the postgame press conference right now, but I know Rick Barnes is taking full responsibility for this loss, as he always does. That's the type of man he is. That's the type of coach that he is. End of the day, your head coach's name is there. It's on him. Tennessee was getting open looks. Tennessee could not find the bottom of the net. Rick Barnes was not 2 of 18 from 3. I'm not putting this game on Rick Barnes. Say whatever you want to. It's fine. We're emotional. We're mad right now. It is what it is. I know that's how you're feeling. I'm not putting this game on Rick Barnes. Just is what it is. We'll continue to recap this game and this season as a whole. When Locked On Vols returns this week, we'll have a Monday episode. We'll talk to some people who were at the game covering it. What was the scene like? What was it like seeing Kennedy Chandler ball on the court into the chest of Juwan Howard? An emotional night for Tennessee, an upsetting night for Tennessee as the Volunteers fall to the 11th-seeded Michigan Wolverines. And again, a team that I didn't believe should be in this tournament. I said on the radio this morning here in Knoxville, Tennessee, I don't think Michigan should be in the tournament. I said it all week, but in March, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's got Final Four caliber players on that basketball team, and they proved it the last 2 games. Michigan is on to the Sweet 16, and Tennessee is going home 76-68. Guys, lame show. I know. I wish there was a better outcome. I truly, truly do. But stay with me. Let's talk about it some more. Let's snap, let's clear, let's get a good night's sleep. Spring football is coming up on Tuesday. We got loads and loads of content to get into. Locked On Vols. Locked On Vols will continue on. Stay with me, guys. Stay with me. There are greener pastures ahead. I know it sucks right now. I get it, but stay with me. Locked On Vols on YouTube. Thanks so much for subscribing. Let's get us up there to 1,000. And thanks so much for listening on all of your audio platforms. Monday through Friday, weekday mornings, completely free, and wherever you get your podcast. Guys, y'all are the best. Try to enjoy the rest of your nights, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will talk again on Monday.